Now, I don't know which is more annoying, the arrogance of, climate change activists who base their views on inconclusive scientific evidence, or the audacity of the celebrities used to push these pseudo-scientific claims. The movement, began to sound ridiculous, really like gibberish to me, when they called it climate justice, as if, the climate belonged to a marginalized group that was taken from Africa and made to suffer slavery and Jim Crow. But the movement still managed to become even more ludicrous when the spokesperson became a teenage high school dropout who on her own can't make sense of even the most basic published climate study. And what can you expect in an age where activism is the pinnacle of morality? People expect you to stand for something and respect you when you do, even if you have no clue what you are standing for. What we celebrate these days are young, naive, gullible zealots extremely concerned about something they don't understand. But instead of seeking information, they block traffic or glue themselves to priceless paintings. Now, we have the young, dumb minions of this movement who just look pitiful and in serious need of proper parenting. But we also have the ridiculous and hypocritical celebrities. These ones eat bug on camera but feast on steak and yogurt behind closed doors. They fly private jet 10 times a week, but they are very concerned about other people's carbon footprint. Somehow, it seems this climate monster that is just ready to destroy the whole world always ignore the carbon emissions from upper-class elitist activists. Now, this is what we call peer-reviewed scientific studies these days. And one of these celebrities made a video recently, urging the rest of humanity to appease the god of rain. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I present to you the gospel of climate change according to Ellen Degeneres. Let's take a look.
Montecito is under complete evacuation, the entire town. This is the 5-year anniversary from the fire and mudslides that killed so many people, and people lost their homes, their lives. This is crazy on the 5-year anniversary. We are having unprecedented rain. This creek next to our house never flows, ever. Probably about 9 feet up, and it's been going ever 2 feet up. We have horses ready to evacuate. We need to be nicer to Mother Nature, because Mother Nature is not happy with us. Let's all do our part. Stay safe, everybody. Yikes!
Yes. Yikes. Yikes, guys. I mean, Mother Nature is a cringy middle-aged lesbian comedian and former talk show host. If you've ever wondered what Ellen Degeneres has as a middle name, well, I guess it's Mother Nature. But Americans and people in the West, I have one question for you guys. How come you guys gave up on a God who became man and died to save humanity? And what did you replace him with after you gave up on him? You replaced him with Mother Nature, a God that makes mudslides and volcanoes. I mean, you criticize the goodness of God. According to you guys, how can this God be so good? He claims to be so good, yet he's punishing sinners. But you praise Mother Nature's awesomeness, even when she punishes you with hurricane, floods, earthquakes, and tsunamis. And what are we supposed to do to appease this new God of the West? Are we supposed to sacrifice babies? Don't eat cows, don't have kids, don't use modern technology, don't question her ridiculous prophets. I mean, Mother Nature is beginning to sound like a barbaric African deity. At one point, the West, and a vast majority of society worship the sun and the wind. And it looks like these archaic, ridiculous practices are making a comeback under the guise of science. Trust the science, peer-reviewed studies about the climate and about climate change. The practices that these people are postulating and promoting just sound so barbaric, as if this is one African religion or one Middle Eastern religion. What exactly is this? But in all seriousness, which I believe I've been serious so far, but in all seriousness, there are 3 things I want to point out about the attitudes of the likes of Ellen Degeneres when it comes to climate change, which I find very annoying, if not extremely disturbing. First, what does she want me to do? What does she want from the likes of me? Me, a middle-class Nigerian, living in a single-room apartment that also functions as a makeshift studio. I don't have a car. I don't have reliable electricity. What effort does she require from the likes of me, considering that people like me make up 1.9 billion of the over 6 billion world population? What do we have to do to appease the wrath of Mother Nature in glorious California? So those children working in dangerous coal mines, those people need to work faster because Mother Nature is growing impatient, just increasingly impatient these days. But don't worry, Ellen. Don't worry. We are always at your service. We've got you completely. But just so you know, Just so you know, Nigeria's primary export is crude. And if the West should stop oil, like the mindless activists are constantly demanding, if the West is to stop oil, that means that our revenue will dry up and our economy will become even more devastating than it already is. And I'm talking about more deaths from starvation, food crisis, and poverty. But then, at least Bill Gates gets to keep his beachfront house, right? And Greta Thunberg finally saves the glacier mountain. So happy ending, right? Secondly, is everything about the climate? Like, is every weather, harsh weather, whether good or bad, everything about the weather, does it all have to be about, does it all boil down to climate? Is climate change? Is everything climate change? Have you people ever heard of something called the weather and how it constantly changes? Do you guys know that, weather has always existed since time immemorial? Like, at one point in recent years in Nigeria, we had scarce rainfalls during the rainy season. But the following year brought so much rainfall that it flooded most parts of the country. And any fool can conveniently blame both events on climate change. But we have obvious solutions to those events. If we have proper water supply amenities in my country, we wouldn't have been, we wouldn't have faced the challenge of having access to clean water supply during the period of scarce rainfall. And if our government had maintained certain dams, most part of the country would not have been flooded when the heavy rain finally came. You see, the problem is not Mother Nature, but our ineffective government. A government that has refused to effect simple solutions to the most basic environmental challenges. Instead, they make the convenient excuse of blaming citizens for the government's lack of competence. I mean, we've advanced in construction and technology. We can build structures and systems to help us combat various environmental catastrophes. But our recent approach seems to only involve, giving nature whatever we think she wants. If our ancestors had had this approach, if that was their approach, we would have gone extinct as a species. That's why they built houses and made clothes, and they handed to us the body of knowledge we now know today as civil engineering. And in my religion, God told man to have dominion over the earth. The earth was made for man and not man for the earth. So my job is to be fruitful, multiply and subdue the earth. And lastly, when are we going to realize, or when is the West going to realize, that celebrities are not qualified to lecture anyone about anything? They have no qualification to give anyone lecture about anything other than the very thing that made them famous. And why do we take their opinion seriously? These are absolute morons, as in absolute dummies. Sorry. These guys are just morons. Most of them became famous out of sheer luck. And now I have to listen to them advocate for something that requires critical thinking, a skill that they lack evidently. I mean, look at Ellen. She doesn't even know how to maintain a healthy work environment, but now she's an advocate for saving the physical environment. Perhaps her prescription includes being extremely rude to employees, right? I mean, what do these people know about climate change? I mean, what do they know about anything at all? Anything that concerns the real world? Why they are saturated with the fantasies of Hollywood? These guys are like every climate change activist. Passionately ignorant, yet relentlessly arrogant about and defensive about their ignorance. They believe everything the so-called climate experts say without question. And these experts, have to be the one that is endorsed by the US government. A government run by this guy, a walking dead who doesn't know where he is. And when he manages to get some brain activities, he wastes it all on needless lies.
And guess what? The first frost, you know what was happening? It had to put on their windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer. And why for the longest time, Delaware had the highest cancer rate in the nation.
I mean, at this point, only an ignorant buffoon would take this climate change experts seriously. Like, how many times do they have to be very wrong before some people realize that these experts are just idiots? But it all boils down to one thing. You see, humans by design need to worship something. It is an instinct that we can't escape, no matter how non-religious, enlightened, and atheistic we claim to be. And since the West have rejected the humble savior of Christianity and consider him archaic, harsh, and unreasonable, they've opened themselves to a new religion, and this one is very demonic in nature. They rejected a religion that says man was made in the image of God and have chosen a religion that says human life is a parasite, a pest, and a danger to the environment, which needs to be controlled if not completely eradicated. I mean, isn't it just ironic? You say people who believe in Sky Daddy are delusional, right? Yet here you are in 2023, still believing in a religion that claimed that the world would end before the year 2000. You know, Peter, Paul, and Moses, they all sound like old fools to you, right? So who are you listening to now? Who are your new prophets? Paul Ehrlich, Greta Thunberg, and Ellen Degeneres? Yes. Yikes. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, then hit the like button, share this video, subscribe to this channel, and ring that notification bell. Also, I want to know in the comments, as always, what do you think about this whole climate change movement and what Ellen DeGeneres said about Mother Nature? Do you think we need to be kind to Mother Nature? You know, because the world is, about to come to an end due to global warming and climate change. Let me know what you think in the comments. And until the next video, peace.